And we are back with our featured guest, Jeff Hull. Of course, Jeff wants to take a look at big companies that are almost nation states of their own, or they can certainly be thought of in that context. And one thing that I think caused investors to realize this, just how big some of these companies are, was the huge rally in shares of Meta Platforms last week, 20% in a single day. That's extraordinary for a mega cap company in its own. But if you did the math, and it's not difficult to do, that added some $200 billion US to the market cap of Meta in a single trading day.
Yeah, it's truly incredible. And a lot of people forget how big and massive some of these global colossuses are. Meta, if it was its own country, would be in the top 3 countries in the world for population, as an example, just based on their user base. And even that gain you talked about, 20% in one day up, that was 2 days after they got dragged before a Senate hearing. Mark Zuckerberg did, their CEO, in relation to social media issues as well. So it's amazing what these companies can actually do, and some of the rabbits they can pull out of the hat when they need to. But one of the ones I thought would be actually interesting, perhaps we can discuss, is Amazon. Everyone thinks of them as a global giant tech entity out there, but people kind of forget sometimes these companies that are labeled with tech, as an example, aren't necessarily just tech. Amazon, a number of years ago, bought Whole Foods, as an example, the grocery chain. They bought Kiva, the company that makes now their robots that completely populate all of their warehousing worldwide. They bought Zappos, one of the biggest entities online for shoes of all types around the world. They bought MGM Studios recently with regards to movies. Almost a century of the library that's there for most of it. It also allows them to repurpose movies, as an example, not just on their Prime streaming service, but also allows them to reinvigorate old franchises, whether they be TV or actually movies. I know they just came out with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the old Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie movie. They just brought out a series based on that movie from a number of years ago, as an example. They own half the James Bond franchise. So these are just some of the businesses and companies that they own, and obviously they're well known for being the biggest, not just retailing on the internet, but obviously Amazon Web Services, as an example.
Right.
If someone watches Netflix today, it's actually on Amazon's web service, the biggest in North America for corporate.
I think a lot of investors are more familiar now with Amazon Web Services than they were just a few years ago. For one thing, you see it regularly advertised on television. What do you think investors need to have in their portfolios with respect to these companies? Do they need exposure to these companies in a long-term way in their portfolios?
Yeah, absolutely. And also just because of the fact that they're the biggest in the world, and they tend to be monopolies or duopolies, where they have such a protective economic moat around their castle that others just can't come along and eat their lunch. And even something as simple as video gaming. One of the things that I was surprised with years ago when I was researching it is the #1 source of human entertainment I thought would have been playing sports, watching sports, of course watching BNN Bloomberg TV, but it turns out most of the world actually likes video gaming. Even on a Tokyo subway, as an example, people will be video gaming on a smartphone, as an example. So even Amazon, back to that for a second, they have a channel called Twitch. And Twitch is a channel where video gamers can watch other video gamers play video games and get tips. And a quick funny story, I was talking to one of my dear, I call them my darlings, my clients are over 90 years old, and I was talking to this wonderful lady, and she was talking about her great-grandson that she doesn't understand. Instead of playing video games, he's watching other people online play video games. So I mentioned to her, I said, do you still watch the cooking channel? She said, oh yeah, you're just watching people cooking. She's like, oh, well, okay, that makes sense. But there's no question, these companies are amazing, but the big thing is people need to realize they're not just about technology or a certain label. No, these massive colossuses often have tentacles everywhere out into a number of different businesses, non-related to technology as well.
We're out of time, but some quick thoughts on Meta Platforms. Just that the stock declined a great deal in the past couple of years. Investors seem worried at one point about Mark Zuckerberg's big push into the so-called metaverse. I think maybe they didn't really understand where it was going. And just a note that the market cap on Meta now stands at more than 50% of the gross domestic product of this country, Canada. That's just a measure of how large it is. Market cap at Meta is about $1.1 trillion US. The most recent market cap figure on Canada, or the figure of 2023 market cap in Canada, was $1.9 trillion. And I think also you're quite likely speaking about Canadian dollars in terms of Canadian GDP and US dollars in the case of Meta. Your thoughts on Meta?
Meta, good company overall, depending which your view is on social media. Where it got interesting in the last couple of years is the stock got pummeled for a bit. They were the first big tech company after COVID to go into big cost cutting, laying off a lot of employees, which never looks great as a headline. And also was tough on their finances, because as you may pay severance and things for people, suddenly you got all these empty chairs with zero productivity, and you're still paying salaries for a period of time. But after you get past that hurdle, the company's kind of become more lean and mean and is able to get rid of a lot of the unproductive employees, and they can hit the ground running better in the recovery. And that's part of the reason why Meta has done so well, is their cost cutting and refocusing. But they did blow a lot of money and continue to so much on their whole Meta and Metaverse program, which they've trimmed back a little bit. But that's, you don't hear as much about that anymore. They know where their bread is buttered, and there's a lot of better divisions they have right now making them money.